Marc Freedman has a purpose. As managing partner and co-founder of Evolved Profits, he and his team have over 40 years of experience in helping businesses free up cash so that it can be reinvested into helping employees, growing the business, and creating positive social impact. He is a serial entrepreneur, CEO, and the best-selling author of Expense to Profit: Eliminate the Costs That Sabotage Your Growth. Marc loves helping companies create more profits while being an agent for change. This is his purpose, and in an effort to help more companies and more people, Marc, along with co-host Yanik Silver, author of Evolved Enterprise, bring you Profits with Purpose, a podcast that aims to do just that. On the show, Marc and Yanik talk to successful corporate decision makers, exploring valuable lessons learned, experiences in growing a company, ways to reduce expenses, and all the ways a company can have a positive social impact. Join us each week and get in on the discussion so we can all have more profits with purpose. And now, here's your host, Marc Freedman.
Welcome to Profits with Purpose. Today's guest is Beth Shaw. She's the author of 4 best-selling books on health and wellness, a pioneer in the wellness, yoga, and fitness space in North America. Beth is CEO and founder of YogaFit training systems worldwide. It's a global mind-body educational school, YogaFit. Beth is also a go-to yoga mindfulness expert in the media and has been featured in numerous fitness, business, and consumer publications. She's also a frequent speaker at universities, conferences, and Fortune 500 corporations. Beth educates others on health and mindfulness in the workplace and conscious business. In her latest book, Healing Trauma with Yoga and Mind-Body Techniques, she provides tools and techniques drawn from her work as a recovery and health coach. She offers a deep understanding of the physiological and psychological and emotional changes brought on by trauma and depression, with techniques to survive and thrive through these sometimes debilitating conditions. Beth Shaw, welcome to Profits with Purpose.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, this is great. I always like to start out and ask, what is it that got you to yoga? What was there? Was there some kind of life-changing event yourself, or was it just something that you always had a passion for?
Well, actually had to teach myself how to do guided imagery and meditation when I was 6 years old, because
Wow.
I suffered from horrible migraine headaches. And I grew up in a family where they were not particularly invested in what was going on with me. So I taught myself how to do guided imagery meditation. I cured my migraine headaches. I've been practicing yoga since I was a child. I've been working out, lifting weights and such since age 15. So I've been studying nutrition since I was in college due to being in a car accident and meeting up with some chiropractors who are into food combining. So this is really, it's been a lifestyle for me that started very early.
Wow. It's a pretty interesting background. So you had this deep understanding, and most people really, I don't think, understand really the combination of both fitness, health, and what you eat. Let's talk about that for a little bit. How does that all interact and help people be better?
Well, as I put in my book, Healing Trauma with Yoga, we have a whole chapter on it. Food is mood. So really what you eat is not going to just affect your health and your weight, but it's also going to affect how you feel and your cognitive function. And to me, brain health is just as important as body health, mental health, and emotional health. There are foods that, and we live in a society where we're bombarded with fast food ads and cheap factory farmed food. And we're not taught in school, we're not taught early how really to eat properly. And, back in the day when I was in school, there were like some food pyramids that mostly involved a lot of processed carbohydrates that you should be getting all your, nutrients from, because there's a lot of, the food companies being in bed with the education system, unfortunately. So this for all of us, and I focus on this a lot on my radio show that I host called Make America Healthy. We all have to take responsibility for our health and wellness, and it really starts with what you're putting in your mouth.
Yeah, my daughter yells at me all the time about that. She and you would get along really well.
Well, maybe we'll have her on Make America Healthy one day.
There you go. So yeah, let's talk about YogaFit. What's YogaFit all about?
YogaFit is the largest yoga mind body school in the world. In September, we're celebrating 25 years as a school, educating people on all aspects of health and wellness, from yoga to meditation to Ayurveda, clean eating. We have programs for people who are athletic, senior citizens, children, pre-postnatal yoga therapy, sound and mantra. So we're kind of one-stop shopping for anything as it relates to mind-body health. We educate people. We educate a lot of just people who want to learn more about yoga and other mind-body practices. We also teach people how to teach yoga to other people and other forms of mind-body techniques.
So not only teaching people like myself the end result, you're teaching the teachers.
Yeah, we teach everyone, and we have a huge corporate wellness program right now where we're going into corporations and helping companies help their employees feel better. And really, at the end of the day, it's just about feeling better every day.
Wow. So let's talk about that for a second, because we know that, and actually in our business of expense reduction, we've seen corporate wellness programs fail for many businesses.
Oh, I'd love to hear more about that.
So I guess my question for you is, what are you doing that's different in the corporate environment than most traditional wellness programs that are typically sponsored by the insurance companies, or I would say the benefit advisors to these businesses?
Well, yeah, and we should back up to say, look, in this country, most people are not making any money off of healthy people. So no one's got a vested interest. If you follow the money trail, no one's got a vested interest in Americans truly being healthy. So we're at a disadvantage there. And then if you look at the traditional, workforce, most of which spends anywhere from 7 to 12 hours a day sitting behind a computer, that's also not healthy. But at YogaFit, we don't just focus on physical health, but we also focus on mental and emotional health. So by giving people tools, if they're stressed out, if they're anxious, if they have depression, giving them self-directed tools that they can implement themselves, and really giving people the chance to start to feel better, that becomes what you want your baseline normal feeling to be. So by adding in the mind body and not just like how many calories did you consume and how many steps did you take, we really take things to the next level.
That's great, because you're right. They were giving everybody Fitbits and counting calories, and I don't know about that.
Like I said in my book, Yoga Lean, and I wrote a whole lifestyle book, actually a gentleman that we know through the YogaFit network picked that book up last October, implemented it himself, and lost 78 pounds year to date. So wow. We know our programs work if people work them. But, again, we're challenged with not only educating people, but also getting them to get into action around really what is their most valuable asset, and that is their health. People should never forget that your health is your most valuable asset. People take better care of their cars than they do their bodies. And I'm really committed to making that change.
Guilty. So what makes your business different from others that are in the same space?
Well, I don't really think there are many others in the same exact space. Our business is different, one, because I'm the CEO and founder, and I'm still very actively involved with everything that goes on. Two, we have 65 master trainers, many of whom are doctors, psychologists, physical therapists, Ayurvedic specialists, musicians. So they all have their core competency. So when we're leading a virtual or a live training or at a conference, we really have qualified professionals, many of whom are much smarter than I am in their fields of study. And these are our educators. And I believe that that really makes a difference. And as a company, we care, we give back. We have a very robust community service program where we make everyone who has taken a YogaFit Level 1 training give back 8 hours of community service work, teaching people who normally wouldn't have the opportunity to receive yoga, meditation, and other mind-body tools, teaching these people, going out to their communities and making a positive difference.
Wow. So cool. We'll get back to that. So let's talk about company culture and how you promote it and how it becomes a very big positive for your business being successful.
Well, I can truly say that everybody on our team is a fan of yoga and health and fitness and wellness and loves to work out in the gym. We have a very enthusiast-based organization. I think that makes a difference, and everyone on the team truly cares about the clients and customers. So we have a culture with a purpose, and I believe that a purpose-driven culture is a really good culture to have.
Perfect. Love it. So I guess what holds you back from really getting your message out there more than it is currently today and becoming more adoptable?
Oh, that's a very good question, and I'll answer it on several levels. One, even after 24 years of doing this, I still have not figured out what that magic formula is. Two, we're not spending $1 million a month on advertising. Three, perhaps I'm not thinking big enough, although I did just graduate from Harvard's OPM program. So you would think that I would know something. I think it's hard in today's world to really get the message out there in a big, meaningful way, unless you're a powerful brand with a lot of money behind you. But I'm open to suggestions. If any of your listeners have an idea of how we can get the YogaFit message out there more, or how I can get my personal message out there from bethshaw.com or Make America Healthy radio show, you can email me at beth@yogafit.com. I love good thought processes.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a challenge to figure out what the right formula is for getting messages out, right? And I think sometimes if you can get access, at least what I found is we've had some positive PR experiences ourselves because of things that are going on in the community. And of course, that kind of snowballs itself. So sometimes, when we talk about profits with purpose, we talk about giving back. You already mentioned that. What you ask people to do that get part of the YogaFit program. What other things are you guys doing to help give back to the community? I mean, that's obviously what the show is all about.
We host 15 conferences a year across North America, and we do fundraisers at those conferences for local charities. Next week, I go to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm doing a 4-hour class on a Friday night with yoga, meditation, dancing. We're having a shaman come in, and we'll donate all that money to an organization called Family Promises, where battered women can come into these facilities and bring their pets. I'm a huge animal advocate, and also their children. So we try to really support the local community when we do a YogaFit Mind Body Fitness conference.
Wow, that's great. It's always positive when you have a dedicated vision to help a group that is away from mainstream. Like you said before with advertising, right? There's plenty of nonprofits out there that spend a lot of money to be able to attract money.
Yeah.
But, what you're talking about there with dedicated battered women's group, that's something really special.
Well, we're doing the best we can do. Again, I believe that I'm only on this planet to help educate people on their health and wellness, physically and mentally. And whether it's through my radio show or through YogaFit or through my books and articles, that's my mission. And I think there are people on the planet who give back. There are people on the planet who cause destruction. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the people are, in the middle category where they're just kind of living their lives. And, that's just, I'm not wired that way.
Just the whole aspect, the whole wellness aspect of getting everything. I'm trying to look for the right word. Usually I don't have that problem, but everything weave into each other, as you mentioned at the beginning, I think makes a lot of sense. Why is there such a big disconnect with the different things that you've already mentioned? Why do people just not get it? Is there something that we're all always missing from that?
I think that, and I see this all the time with people like, oh, I don't have time to meditate, or, I used to go to the gym and then the pandemic happened and I stopped. I just had this conversation with my executive assistant today. She's like, I was going to the gym before COVID and I stopped. And I can tell she's gained weight. She doesn't feel well. I said, listen, you just need to go back and just do it. Like, just go to the gym and make sure you're going 4 days a week. Like, I think that people don't put them, I think we have a priority issue in this country. And I think our priorities are about acquiring things, gaining position. Obviously, everybody needs to make a living so they can feed their family. And I respect that. But when it comes to our society, if I were to give some advice, I'd say eat less, drink less, buy less, and move your body more. Just that simple.
Wow. Really, that is pretty simple when you think
It is
about
very simple. When it all boils down to it, everything is truly simplicity. I mean, when it comes to food choices, the simpler, the better. When it comes to purchasing stuff, less is more. When it comes to alcohol, don't overindulge. When it comes to sugar, just try not to have it because it's more addictive than heroin. Fitness and feeling good really are not that complicated. We've made things far more complicated than they need to be. And again, I've got some really good shows with different experts on Make America Healthy, where we cover topics like the obesity crisis in this country. 50% of our population is obese. That's not even just overweight, that's obese. These numbers are trending in a very bad direction. I'm concerned that in 20 years, that number is going to be 75%, which means that, out of 4 people, 3 of them are going to be obese. And that's a tremendous cost, not just to the individual who clearly is not going to be feeling as good as they can or performing as well as they can at work, at play, with their family, anywhere. But it also has a tremendous effect on the healthcare system and the ensuing medical complications that come from being overweight or obese, like diabetes, high blood pressure, things that are in our control if we change our behaviors. Now, if you said to me, what's the magic formula for behavioral change? I don't know what that is. I think for a lot of people, they have a health crisis. They might have a heart attack, they might have cancer, and then they change their ways. But most people seem not to want to change unless something catastrophic happens, much like someone gets into a car accident if they've been drinking, and then they end up in AA and they stop altogether. I think as humans, we're just wired to not make change unless we absolutely have to.
And it's interesting, I think, the way you mentioned that. It seems like it's because we're so inundated, I think, between all the different digital solutions that we all get addicted to, as well as for those that like to spend time on TV, all the advertisements, they're all, not all, they're mostly, I think, filling your mind with not healthy solutions.
Well, look, most advertising on television. I presented at a pharmaceutical conference in Boston in April, and I got to go and see the ads for all the different pills as part of the conference. And then I turned on the TV and I noticed that every ad is either for fast food or a pill. And it's all kind of the same thing. If you eat enough fast food, you're going to end up taking a lot of pills that have a lot of complications. And then you need other pills for the pills that you're taking. I personally gave up my antidepressants in January that I had started taking during the pandemic. And like I mentioned, since COVID, I've had to become my own mental health practitioner with pretty good results, I would say. When you make a decision to take your health into your own hands and you're willing to do whatever it takes to get the solution, you will find it. I promise you.
Yeah, COVID certainly changed a lot of things we all do. And it certainly put a large focus on mental health. And the problem is, I think, fortunately, you were strong enough to be able to do what you did to get off of the antidepressants and change your behaviors so that your mind was focused properly. But there's a lot of people who, I don't know, say don't, not can't, don't, right? Because they become dependent. Are there solutions?
It's easy to become psychologically dependent on anything. And I know I went through periods of time where I was like, I have to get off these pills. And look, I don't think that there's anything wrong with antidepressants. At times in my life, like I was suicidal. The antidepressants were very helpful. But I also just felt like I was out of integrity in not really utilizing all the tools that I had at my disposal to make a change. And we again are in a culture where the doctor hands you pills for everything, or you're eating bad food, you have heartburn, and then you should take some over-the-counter or prescription medication pills, where if you just hit the problem at its root cause, which is change your diet, you probably wouldn't need those heartburn pills. So we've got a pill for everything. My show, Make America Healthy, people were like giving me a hard time about that name. And then they were like, well, why didn't you just call it Make America Healthy again? And I said, I don't know really when America was healthy. And if we look back historically, America was probably a lot healthier pre-World War II, before all the pharmaceutical companies came in, and also before all the fast food establishments were everywhere. So you had and of course putting fluoride in the water, but we won't talk about that on the show. So Make America Healthy, it's time really to get America healthy. And I would only hope that, if I was going to put anything in the water, it would be something to make people want to make a change.
We figured that out. That could be worth a lot of money.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
But I think, certain entities would not appreciate that because, again, we don't make money off of healthy, mentally fit people.
Yeah.
It's a business, and unfortunately, we're all widgets and cogs in the machine.
Wow. So here's a question I always like to ask. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given? And is there somebody you attribute that to?
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that. I'm still in touch with my professor of finance from college, Dr. Lorene Harris. I just met up with her for the first time last week on Long Island after not seeing her for, a good 6-7 years. And she told me two things that always stuck with me. She said, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And she also said, pick one thing and become the best at it.
There you go. Two great pieces of advice, especially with what we've seen going on in the financial markets, for sure.
Yes.
And so many people out there that try to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
As opposed to being narrow focused to be the best you can be. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Very good. So is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to add?
Well, I want to ask you a ton of questions, but I won't do that on your show because you seem like you really are involved in a lot of very interesting worlds.
No, go ahead. I mean, I'm open to asking. You can ask me whatever you want.
So what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
So the best piece of advice that I've ever been given was actually one that comes from Albert Einstein. And he said, you cannot solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them.
So how do you think we create change in literally like creating new neural pathways? How do we change our thinking?
So I believe you have to unmainstream yourself, right? You have to divorce yourself from all the outside, I guess, influences is probably the best word, right? That come from all the different sources that we get, whether it's online digital stuff, whether it's TV related, whether it's, advertisements you hear on the radio or stuff like that. If you can mentally block out all these inputs that are not healthy, which you've already articulated pretty well, I think that helps get you more focused to be more successful, both health-wise, life-wise, and work-wise. And that's when you can excel better than anywhere else.
Awesome. And what's the best piece of advice you would give to a small business owner?
I would say that don't ever accept that whatever someone is telling you is the best way it should be done. Take that advice, analyze that advice, and see if that advice makes sense for what you're trying to accomplish.
Wonderful. And last question, sorry, I've turned your show around on you.
It's okay.
Do you see that there is a future in corporate wellness? And even if companies actually don't care about their employees, do you think they're going to be forced to either pay them to lose weight or go to the gym? Where is the corporate responsibility when it comes to what is happening in our country, which is a national epidemic of health physically, especially obesity and all the related consequences, and also the mental health crisis? Where's the responsibility in corporations? What do you think they're going to do with it and to it?
So obviously for larger corporations, it's somewhat easier because they're typically what's called self-insured.
Right.
For the smaller business, believe it or not, they can actually self-insure today. There are other methodologies for that.
Are you talking about healthcare?
Yeah, and in regards, well, not only healthcare, but part of the healthcare solution, the benefit solution for businesses is trying to help their employees be more healthy. That's what we see.
And do you think that companies really care about that?
Well, the ones that are paying attention to what they spend, and when we ask businesses, we're in the expense reduction business. So when we ask businesses, what's the check you hate writing every month the most? Most of them say it's our insurance premiums for healthcare. And so my next question is, okay, well, are you open to looking at solutions that can help you reduce those premiums? Yeah, but every year we get a new bill and it's 7% higher, it's 8% higher, it's this percent higher. And we're like, well, there are ways to reduce that. And so one of them is, we've always looked at, from our side, we don't sell insurance. So obviously there's insurance people involved, but we analyze the programs that people offer. We analyze the benefit programs that are wellness programs to see whether or not, number one, are they worth what you're paying? Meaning, are employees using them? I mean, you're paying all this money. Are employees using these programs? And are they gaining benefit from using these programs? And we find in most cases, less than 50% of the programs are worth what they're paying. And so you have to have a whole corporate change.
Do you think it's because the employees just don't care? Again, we come back to like, how do we make behavioral change? Do people even care enough to want to make positive changes in their health?
Yeah, so I think the minority do, not the majority, but I think it's because it's not articulated properly as a benefit. And if you do this, in other words, we've actually had some programs where incentives have been put in place for weight loss, for stop smoking, all the different things that you should be doing.
Did it work? Because I had this conversation last week with a gentleman who's the CRO of a big health club chain based here out of Deerfield Beach, Florida. And he was just like, until companies start paying their employees to exercise and lose weight, it's not going to happen. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, but the paying of employees to do that, there's other ways to do it as opposed to, dollar compensation, right? If you are healthier and it's costing me less as a business for your health benefits, I, as a business owner, gain from that, right? But I can share that gain with my employees. And so there's plenty of ways to help incentivize employees to be healthier.
Wonderful. What are you doing for lunch on Friday?
Well, I don't typically eat lunch away from the office on Friday, or any day of the week for that matter. But Friday, I actually have nothing going on at that time.
I would love to come to Boca and take you to lunch because I think there are, one, we might be able to use your services. And two, I think there's some really meaningful work that we could do out there in the world together.
Absolutely. Sounds like a great plan.
Okay.
But I am working out at 10 a.m. So I have to see my trainer at 10 a.m. So anytime after about 11 o'clock.
How about that?
1 works great.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, we'll set that up.
Awesome.
So if, and you already mentioned this once, but let's do it one more time. If listeners want to learn more about you, what you do, both yourself, I know BethShaw.com and YogaFit.com. If they want to get in contact again, we'll put it in the show notes, but if you would just do it one more time, that'd be great.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Beth Shaw Health. You can find me on LinkedIn, Beth Shaw Yoga. I have several Facebook pages, including Yoga Lean. All of my books, Yoga Lean, YogaFit, the YogaFit Athlete, and Healing Trauma with Yoga are all available where books are sold, or of course on Amazon, everyone's friend. And again, bethshaw.com, and then yogafit.com for corporate wellness, and any of our educational programs or conferences or continuity groups.
Great. Beth, thank you. Appreciate you being a guest on Profits with Purpose.
Wonderful, Marc. Namaste. Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Profits with Purpose. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you are interested in reducing the expenses of your business, creating positive social impact, or contributing to the show, reach out to Marc or Yanik with Evolved Profits by emailing podcast@evolvedprofits.com or visiting the website www.evolvedprofits.com.